If you've ever bought a gun because of a movie, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. For me, it was a Beretta 92 because of the Boondock Saints. Go ahead and get down in the comment section. Let me know what gun it was you were possessed to buy because of media. Guys, the comment section is utterly and completely out of control. They've tried to control you, as have I. I will no longer. Do your thing down there. I got nothing for you. Guys, if you're looking to support the channel, the biggest support of the channel right now is Big Daddy Unlimited. Big Daddy Unlimited is like the Costco of the gun world. Super cheap prices. Some people are like, oh, you're only saving $1. You aren't. You're quite usually saving quite a bit more than just $1. So get in there, 99 cents for the first month. Totally worth it. If you are looking for bags, gloves, SIG Plaid, Vertex, and of course, LEX ammunition for all of your ammunition needs. Ladies, gentlemen, and my often forgotten and often overlooked in America, AK-74 rifles. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a very cool pistol. I hate saying that. Thank you, ATF, for your arbitrary rules. We have the SIG MCX Virtus. This is a very interesting firearm. I've been meaning to do a review on this for a long time, but like many things, I like to take my time to ensure that I'm not, I don't know, either giving an opinion too quickly or that I don't want to miss anything. And that is absolutely the case when it comes to the MCX. Now, before we get into it, let's go ahead and let's get into disclosure. What is my relationship to SIG? And what does that mean for reviews? So first off, at the time that I got this pistol, I did not get it from SIG, I got it from Big Daddy Unlimited. So that was cool. I like to be mostly impartial. It does help to be able to talk to the manufacturers at certain times, ask their engineers what they were thinking about certain design features. I later linked in with SIG maybe about a month ago for work on the M13 review that I'm going to be doing. But in any case, I had the opportunity to talk with their engineers about the MCX and that type of thing, and multiple other people have used this in harm's way. So I don't get any money or anything like that. The ammunition was all provided for by me. Nobody helped with that. Of course, my Patreons helped with that and all the production costs. But in any case, no relation with this rifle when it comes to SIG, just so you guys are aware. There's no exchange of money or nothing crazy like that. So with those things out of the way, let's go ahead and let's talk about this. So if you're not familiar with the SIG MCX, it's quite interesting. When it first came out, I was really not interested at all in this particular rifle. I didn't think it was attractive, or I think it had a lot of problems, and it didn't. It wasn't that bad, but it certainly had a little bit of growth to go through. So what we have here is the Virtus. The best way to think of the Virtus is as a Gen 2 MCX. So the Virtus was released around 2016, 2017, kind of thereabouts, and it is vastly improved. So let's talk about this particular pistol, different configurations that you can have these in, and we'll kind of get into it. Also, obviously, if you're a player of Modern Warfare, this is in the game as the M13. Why they don't use the actual names, I can only surmise it is copyright, but in any case, if you're here because of Modern Warfare for whatever reason, highly recommended you stick around and watch, because we have a lot of interesting things to talk about with this particular pistol setup. And it is a pistol, if you're not, if you don't understand, because this is a brace, not a stock. Therefore, this is classified as a pistol, not as a short-barreled rifle. It is currently getting SBR'd via a Form 1. We'll see when that clears. So like we always do with every single firearm that we talk about, we're gonna go tip to butt. We're gonna talk about everything that makes this rifle what it is, and we're gonna do what's most important and talk about what it's like to shoot this thing on the move, how the recoil feels compared to many other modern weapons out there. Let's get into it. Starting from the tip right here, we have our flash hider. It works very well. Good job at reducing flash. Not as well as like, you know, some of the bigs out there like the BE Myers 249F. I mean, that thing is amazing, but this does a fairly good job. And what's interesting going from the muzzle device is down to the barrel. So on the barrel, we have a shoulder that tapers down to the threads. That is for when you direct thread one of SIG's suppressors, and it helps with overall alignment. If you're not familiar, SIG suppressors are actually very good. They're one of the top suppressors out there, and I'm a big fan of their suppressor designs and what they have been doing. So that's why there is a taper right there as opposed to the typical 90-degree taper you see on most barrels nowadays. So speaking of the taper coming off the barrel, let's talk a little bit about the barrel itself. So the barrel is really interesting. So when the MCX first came out, they had a very thin kind of penciled profile barrel. This was a problem. It suffered from some accuracy issues when it heated up. Overall heat dissipation just didn't do very well, and the MCX wasn't really known for being a terribly accurate rifle compared to many other modern offerings like the AR-15 and SCAR and many others. With the Virtus, they've upgraded to a medium, they call it a heavier contour barrel. It seems to be about medium in my opinion, but they did a really good job with the contour. And now it does much better on accuracy, heat dissipation, how well it handles heat. So under strings of fire, it still maintains its accuracy very well. I would definitely put it on par with many high-end AR-15s. It's incredibly accurate. .108. Stand by. 9-7. Stand by. 8-5. Now in my particular testing with the Collies 1 to 5, I was getting about between 1 to 1.5 MOA with Black Hill 77 grain. So that's more a testament to how good this rifle is and how good I am, because the rifle can do much better. I've seen plenty of people who are doing sub MOA with the MCX. Again, I'm not a precision shooter, but it is a perfectly capable and accurate system. I've seen some people out there who state that stating that the gun is more accurate than you is insane. I understand what you're saying to a point, but many modern rifles and many modern pistols are typically going to be bounds and leaps more accurate than you are, and the fact that you introduce a lot of variables that make the weapon more inaccurate, such as wobble, trigger press, follow through, sight alignment, sight picture, all that kind of stuff. In any case, the MCX barrel is wonderful. 1.7 twist, everything that I could possibly want from a barrel. What's really cool about the MCX is once you remove the handguard, and we'll talk about the handguard in a second here, it's very easy to remove the barrel and put a new barrel on. The MCX is a very configurable system. It can easily be swapped from SBR form to rifle form to DMR type form, swapping calibers. It's a very simple system to work with. And I can definitely appreciate all the engineering that went into that. I think it's definitely a good upgrade from what we typically have seen from the AR-15. Now, many companies are doing really good things, like LMT has a very similar system to the MCX. I guess all I'm saying is that the MCX is going in the right direction with this particular rifle and how they handled it. It's very easy to swap things out. Now, when you do swap the barrel, definitely re-zero it. I've seen about anywhere from a 1 to 2 MOA shift swapping barrels and handguards. So just like you do with anything else, you do need to re-zero. It's not like you can pop a new barrel on and expect your zero to be absolutely the same. So make sure you are doing that. Now, before we get into the handguard, let's talk a little bit about the system. So the MCX is not a direct impingement system. As much as it looks like an AR-15, it is not. It is a different operating mechanism. So this operates off a short stroke gas piston system. Now, I'm not going to get into the merits of DI versus gas piston or internal piston, whatever the hell you guys want to call it nowadays, other than to say that the gas piston definitely offers some advantages over a DI system. And I think that the MCX capitalizes very well on those advantages. It is a spectacularly well-balanced system. There's a simple gas plug up here to adjust the system from suppressed to unsuppressed as far as how much gas it lets into the system. In my use of the MCX, the suppressed setting works absolutely great. I'm not getting a whole lot of gas blowback. Now, there are, of course, adjustable gas blocks on AR-15s out there, but it's not nearly as common as what you see in a piston rifle. Pistons typically just do a little bit better than DI designs. Now, there are, of course, adjustable gas systems on AR-15s out there. But typically, pistons are just a little bit easier to manipulate and manage. There are, of course, caveats that there are some very excellent adjustable gas blocks out there. Many of them just aren't in very wide use on the AR-15 platform. In any case, the piston system is spectacularly reliable. There's nothing that I could do to this weapon that hasn't already been done in military testing. It can easily power through snow, through dust, through mud, through whatever. Anything that I throw at this, I know that it's going to be very reliable and run through it. Piston systems typically do have an advantage when it comes to reliability as long as the system is sealed, as you've seen in many videos from Forgotten Weapons. A gas piston system typically necessitates a slightly larger handguard than what you typically see on an AR-15, just due to the components that are needed in it and that type of thing. However, that being said, on the handguard on the SIG MCX, there is quite a gap below the bottom of the barrel before you hit the bottom of the handguard. I understand that you need airflow to help cool off the barrel, but I think that perhaps there could be some sort of compromise that could be made to make the handguard slightly smaller. Now, that being said, I can still grip this bad boy no problem, and I do have kind of medium-sized man hands. If you have larger hands, it's going to be no issue at all. but a smaller grip is just easier to kind of control and that type of thing. That being said, I'm not going to hold it against the MCX. I think that their handguard is wholly adequate. Now on this handguard, they have M-lock on the 3, 6, and 9 positions. They don't have any more beyond that, so if you want to have any type of offset, you have to rely on the mount itself, like I do on this Arisaka OSM mount. The handguard is also easily removable, so a couple considerations there. One, it's easy to swap it out for mission configurations for longer barrels and that type of thing. Another thing to think about is that if you have an IR device, we have a Purse 4 on this particular rifle right now, every time I remove the handguard and put it back on, there's a possibility of a loss of 0. So ensure that you're reconfirming 0 if you swap anything out. If not, it's going to be rock solid, no issues there with lockup. It's just when you do switch it, don't assume you have your perfect 0. Moving back further down on the handguard, we have our QD mounts. So the QD mounts are steel reinforced. I recently did a video on Treyarch and they have the same thing. It's absolutely what you want to have in a duty rifle. You don't want to have aluminum QD slots because your mounts are going to eat through them and they're going to break out of your rifle at the wrong time. You're going to end up dropping it, or in this case, a pistol. So the steel inserts on the handguard are absolutely perfect. SIG definitely knows what they're doing when it comes to designing a fighting rifle. Moving to the top of the pistol right here, we do have a full-length Picatinny rail. Some of it is on the removable handguard. Again, confirm 0 going back. We have an EOTech EXPS 3-0. No issues when it comes to the rail up on the top there. Now, I'm not a super technical YouTube channel. I get into kind of shooting and that type of thing. But as far as the mechanics of a weapon go, I don't really get into them. So when it comes to the bolt, I'm not forgotten weapons. He's much more well-versed on these topics than I am. Other than say that there are many similarities between the AR-18 and the SIG, and that's actually a very good thing. The AR-18 is a phenomenal design, incredibly reliable, and that system has been adapted and improved upon in the SIG Virtus, and they've done a phenomenal job in making a very reliable system. Now, compared to a traditional AR-15, where the action goes back into the receiver extension, it's not the case with the SIG MCX. What's cool about that is with the stock collapse, you can still fire the weapon and it will still function. You know, I understand that there's the Law folder out there, and that is a very cool product as well. However, you can't fire with that thing closed. You can do that with the MCX. Okay, moving down to the controls. So the bolt release, magazine release, all that steel, very durable. I like the magazine release on this particular weapon because it is a little bit more extended. So if you have kind of a weird finger placement, you can still get on there. Very smooth to release. You also have an ambidextrous magazine release should you need to get to it. So if you need to get to the other side, that also works incredibly smoothly. There's a lot of companies that have done a very good job of ambi controls, and the SIG is a good example of a company that has done a good job doing ambi. Now, the bolt release is only on the one side, so if you need to release your bolt, you do have to do it on this side. One thing that I have noticed, I think the placement has to be slightly different, but mag changes on the SIG MCX are incredibly smooth. I've been incredibly impressed. I've done a lot of shooting with a lot of AR-15s, and anything from 10.3 to 11.5. Now, this particular barrel is 11.5. Now, with many firearms that I've shot, especially AR-15s, the shorter barrel lengths on many occasions will choke up as they get gummed up from lots of rounds, and they won't be able to drop the bolt freely. This is something that I see all the time. They end up dropping it, it chokes, and then I have to work the charging handle to get the weapon up. With as many rounds as I've shot through the MCX, around 2K on this one, another 4 on another one, I've never had that happen to me. It's probably due to the short stroke gas piston system, where I don't get nearly as much grime and grit into the where the bolt is running, and because of that, the reloads always feel smooth and clean and crisp. This is absolutely something that you want in a rifle that you would possibly want to trust your life to. The MCX is an incredibly reliable, very robust system, and that's just one of the many things that comes into play in making you feel really good. It gives you those good warm fuzzies when it comes to this particular setup. Now, to hold the bolt open is slightly extended as well. Again, just more good things that SIG has done to ensure that this is very user-friendly, easy to hit, and very easy to manipulate. And for my left-handers out there, if you need to, first off, you can release the magazine with your trigger finger. But if you need to drop the bolt, you can, of course, work the charging handle to drop it. That always works. Now, going down to the magazine well, on the SIG MCX, it is beveled and flared. This makes for very smooth magazine inserts. very easy to get it in there, and that's always a good thing. You want to be able to have no issues getting it in. So no problems there, drops freely. The grip angle on the SIG is phenomenal. It is compatible with AR-15 designs, and in this case, what it comes with is very shallow. MCX has hired a whole lot of very good individuals to work for them, and they definitely know what they're doing when it comes to designing this rifle. They've done a phenomenal job on making a gun that is out of the factory incredibly usable. The safety is good too. You have a 90-degree throw. Of course, that can be swapped out for a variety of others, like the Radian, which we'll be throwing in here for the next couple reviews like this, pressed upper. Very positive, no problems there. I do have to say it because I have encountered companies that have made safeties that are super janky, where they like don't positively click into place, and that is it's a big problem. You don't want to have issues taking your gun off safety. Okay, so we have avoided it as long as we possibly can. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna ghost the trigger. Now I have already tested the trigger with a line pull gauge, measured it out around 4 pounds, which is at the lower end. Typically they're between about 4 and 5, but in any case, this one's well broken. And let's go ahead and let's ghost this trigger together. The trigger is a huge upgrade from the original MCX, and it is actually really great out of the factory. Let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, a little bit of play, just barely any. Solid wall. Good, easy, clean let off at about 4 pounds. Let's feel the reset. Barely letting it forward. Very positive, very short reset. Again, just a little bit of play. It is a very well designed 2-stage trigger. It feels phenomenal. And I would say if this was from SIG that this was cherry picked for me, but because this is just an off the line gun that was sent to me from BDU, I'm inclined to believe that this is just a typical factory. And because this is from BDU, I'm inclined to believe that this is just typical from the factory. Very well made. This is one of the better triggers I've definitely felt coming from a military type rifle. Is it as good as a Geissele trigger? No, but it's really good. I'm very impressed with the trigger. SIG again has proved their worth in making another really good design choice on a phenomenal trigger. So we definitely have to compliment them when it comes to that. Trigger guard is a winter trigger guard. If you have those big old thick gloves, you can still get in there. We have a forward assist. How important is a forward assist? I would rather have it and not need it than need to not have it. I know many people disagree with me, but in any case, I think the forward assist is a good thing. Now we have QD slots right here for our slings. Typically I don't run my slings back here, but due to my current brace situation, I'm not able to easily run it. Typically I run it off my stock. I will be doing that in the future, but why it's good to have a QD slot there is if you're running a very short gun, sometimes a single point sling is needed. And that's precisely where you'd want your QD slot for a single point sling. So again, SIG has done their homework. They have included the mounts where you need them, and I think they've done a phenomenal job with that. Okay, going to the back, we have a 1913 rail for the stock. 1913, I think, is perhaps the future for many different stock attachment methods. Excellent. SIG has a variety of stocks out there, and they're amazing. On this particular one, I have the brace. I really hate this brace quite a bit. I am not a fan of this at all. It twists easily. It's not secure. I do not like it. Many other stocks are much more excellent, and I would definitely recommend those over this thing right here. In fact, I would even, there are of course AR-15 adapters. You can throw an AR-15 type brace. I would definitely recommend that if you're going to keep this in pistol form. But in any case, the 1913 makes it very easy to swap out. You simply loosen that, pop this off, throw another one on, very easy. All right, we've talked a lot about this weapon, but we haven't talked about what it feels like to shoot. The MCX being a piston-driven gun, I didn't really have high hopes for how it would feel. However, this is one of the gentlest shooting piston guns I've ever shot. It easily beats out multiple other AR-15s that I've shot. It's not as soft as some of the nicer AR-15s I have, like a well-gassed BCM, Knights Armament or Triarch or something like that. But when it comes to many others, it absolutely beats them. And that's saying something because a short stroke gas piston gun has a lot of movement going on, especially up front. And typically you just have a little bit more bounce. The MCX is incredibly smooth when it fires. It's a very interesting impulse. Again, piston guns always kind of feel interesting. Just imagine an AK-74, like shooting one of those, and like take the recoil and half it, and that's approximately what the MCX feels like. I've been incredibly impressed by how it feels to shoot this gun. Both the incredible grip angle, the very nice trigger, the great barrel contour, all this adds into a system that makes for a very pleasurable shooting experience. It's very easy to keep this gun at target, to put your rounds precisely where you want them. And as far as accuracy, this puts your rounds precisely where you want them. I can't say enough good things about the MCX. I really do feel like SIG has made a very viable fighting rifle here. Both a weapon ready for duty use, for military use. I would not be hesitant to recommend this rifle to anybody. Now, of course, it does cost a little bit more. Street price on these are typically around $1,900. I do think that price is worth it for the SIG MCX, and I'm sure you get them for a little bit cheaper out on the street, but But the MCX is absolutely worth it. SIG has done a phenomenal job. I can't recommend this enough. Now, here's the thing. As cool as this rifle looks, you're not gonna look cool if you don't get training. If you're not trained, you're gonna look stupid with this, and that's gonna suck. So make sure that you get training. Tons of great guys out there who are willing to impart their knowledge onto you. You have Cogworks, Bear Solutions, Esoteric, the Direct Action Resource Center, Pat McNamara, Larry Vickers, tons of great guys that I would highly, highly recommend. Get out there, get that training, get good at what you have as your main rifle. If you don't have an MCX or you have an AR-15, you're probably gonna be fine. If you have an MCX, go get more training. Because the thing is get a weapon that is reliable and that works. The MCX is one of many. And then train with it, because ultimately the weapon doesn't really matter as long as it's reliable and of good build quality. What matters is you. Make yourself the weapon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. We have tons of great stuff coming. You guys absolutely rock. I've got nothing else for you. Last thing for you guys, expectations of yourself. I've talked a lot about being better and doing better in your life in all aspects. Now, an important thing also is to understand that there are going to be many times you're going to fail. I failed a million different times, and everyone will, and everyone who says they've only had success is lying. You will fail, and it's important to understand and to react to it in an appropriate way. See where you went wrong, but what I see a lot of is people who are way too hard on themselves. Something goes wrong and they're super sad, they can't get over it. They're like, oh man, I fucked up, it's over, and that type of thing. It's not. Learn from it and be better. But don't forget to forgive yourself and to give yourself a break. After you fail, work harder, but allow yourself some time to internalize what just happened to get better. It is a vitally important part of your life to be able to understand your failures and to get better from them, or to accept criticism. So get better at all that stuff. Don't be too hard on yourselves, because we love you. Now, if you've gotten this far, you know what I'm going to say next. My biggest supporters out there are Patreon. Patreon directly supports this channel and makes everything better. Camera equipment, everything. You guys have made this channel a million times better in the time since I've run Patreon. So I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to get in there, it's about $5, and I post things about what's going on, that type of stuff, and it is awesome. Get in there. Love you guys. Don't be too hard on yourselves. We'll see you next week, 2020.